Hi, Bill from CJ Pony Parts. We recently updated the suspension on our Forgotten Fastback project car. The car was originally equipped with drum brakes. Since our plan is to modernize the car along with restoring it, today we're going to upgrade to a set of disc brakes from SSBC. Our SSBC kit is not only going to allow us to upgrade to disc brakes, we're also going to upgrade to power and do a dual bowl conversion while we're at it. Dual bowl is an excellent safety upgrade for your 64 through 66 Mustang, since it'll make separate chambers for your front and rear brakes. Makes it much safer in case of a brake failure. The kit includes these 4-piston vintage style calipers, everything needed to install them, and a proportioning valve for your rear brakes as well. For this installation, you'll need a 1/2 inch ratchet, 1 1/4 inch socket, 3/8 ratchet, 3/4 inch socket, 17mm socket, 9/16 deep socket, 9/16 shallow socket, 7/16 socket, 9/16 wrench, 9/16 stubby wrench, needle nose pliers, and a hammer. We're starting here with a bare spindle since we disassembled our drum brakes when we did our suspension kit. If you have any questions about how to take the drums off, just refer to that video. Everything is in there you need. The first two parts we're going to install are the splash shield and the caliper bracket themselves. Both are side specific, so make sure you grab the correct ones. The splash shield is labeled. The bracket, you want the rounded end on the top, the threaded holes in the back. There's 2 different length bolts you're going to use. The top one and the front one are the shorter one. The longer one's going to go down here since it's a thicker part of the spindle it's going to go through. Now we have our bolts in, we're going to install the nuts on the back. Once you have the backing plate and the bracket mounted, you're ready to prepare your rotor. You want to grease the bearings before you install them in the rotor. If you have access to a bearing packer, this will make it much easier. But if you don't, we're going to show you how to do it by hand. What you would do is grease the bearing by forcing grease through the bottom here until it comes out through this top edge. The packer allows you to kind of fill it and push it all through at once. If you're not using a packer, you'll put some grease in your hand and kind of force it through that way. And yes, this is a very messy process. If you have it correct, you'll be able to look down. You won't be able to see through the bearing anymore. This complete slot will be full of grease. That bearing's ready to be installed. Now we're going to pack the small bearing as well. And they're both ready for installation. Some of the leftover grease on your hand, now you can put some inside the rotor. Put the large inner bearing in first. I'll put the oil seal in. You just want to lightly tap this with a soft hammer to install it. And we're ready to put the rotor onto the spindle. I'll install our rotor. I'll put the smaller outer bearing on, followed by the retainer. Now we're going to put the castle nut on. I'm going to thread this down so it's really not touching the retainer, just right in front of it, so hand tight. Now we're going to spin the rotor. Here you can use channel locks or use an 1 1/4 inch socket if you have it. Just want to slightly tighten it while you're turning the rotor. After you back it off a little bit. The main purpose in spinning the rotor while loosening and tightening the castle nut is to properly seat the bearings. We tighten it again. I'm going to make sure it ends where it lines up so you can install your cotter pin. Loosen up a little bit more here. All right, we're ready to install our cotter pin. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the dust shield to make it slide on a little bit easier. Now we're ready to load the calipers. You want to seat the brake pads inside the caliper. Make sure they're all the way on the outside. Grab the retainer. Make sure the pads are apart and tighten down the retainer. Last step before we mount the caliper on the car is to install our brake line. Remove the plastic fitting supplied with your caliper. Make sure you keep the washer in place. And thread in the new line. Now we're ready to install the caliper on the car. Now put the caliper on over the rotor. Line up the bracket. Now we'll tighten the bolts. Now we're ready to prepare our booster for installation. You want to start with the adjustable push rod that's included in the kit. You're going to want to thread that onto the edge of the booster for now. You'll connect this to your pedal once you install the booster in the vehicle. Next step is to install these brackets that mount to the firewall. Install on each side using the supplied hardware. Now we're ready to install the booster. It's going to mount right where your factory master cylinder was. Go through the firewall into your brake pedal bracket. You want to make sure your vacuum part is on the bottom. We'll need a wrench for this part. These bolts can be kind of hard to get to with the bracket. Once you get the bolts tight on your booster, now you're ready to bench bleed the master cylinder. The next step in the installation would be to bench bleed the master cylinder and install it on the car. You only want to do that if you have hard brake lines already run to the master cylinder location. In our case, we don't have hard lines yet, so we would probably just normally install this. We're going to show you how to bench bleed it anyway, so you can do your installation properly. SSBC includes these two plastic lines, these fittings, and this bridge to properly bleed the master cylinder. You'll need a vise once you put fluid in. We're going to show you how to assemble it first. I'm going to put the small ends into the hoses. You'll install these in the ports in the side of the master cylinder. Basically turn them as you push them in. We'll install the bridge, put the hoses through it. Now I want to go install it on our vise. Now you want to fill the cylinder up with brake fluid, about 3/4 of the way. Now use something like a screwdriver. You're slowly going to push the push rod in and out of the master cylinder to get the air out. Basically, you want to keep doing this till you don't get any more bubbles. See, now we're getting a solid stream of brake fluid, not any bubbles. Our master cylinder is ready to be installed. We'll install the gasket on our master cylinder and put the master cylinder onto the booster. About as far as we can go with our installation until we get our hard brake lines run. You should mention this kit is designed to work with an automatic transmission. You can use it with a manual as long as you're not using the original Z-bar setup. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates on the Forgotten Fastback.